Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to ISRC TV, to Hockenheimring for the Aquiver eSports Championship. Hockenheim, of course, situated in the Rhine Valley, near its hometown Hockenheim in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. This is the only German track that we have on the calendar in this series, and it's good that we've decided to run the new one to the iRacing. Today we've got myself, Trig, who'll be joining us shortly, and Martin Pearson in the commentary box, and we'll be taking you around this track for the next hour and a half through the next 30 minutes qualifying, and then a 1 hour long sprint race with LMP2s and with GT3s. At the moment, we're looking at the series organizer. Our new entry this season, Regard Pedersen. First time seeing him out on track. Saw his teammate last week win the race out at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So we've also got Martin Pearson. He'll be on cameras today. Martin, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself, Isaac?
I'm doing brilliantly. I've had a fun day out in the wild. Obviously, lockdowns are being lifted throughout the UK today. Many of you have been able to get out to the gym, get a haircut, and travel into Wales. So I've been enjoying those from a social distance with abiding by all of the current regulations. But yeah, no, it's nice that we're resuming some sort of normality after a rather hectic year.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I'm still yet to get a haircut myself, unfortunately, but certainly on the list of things to do. I reckon we should ride on board with Mr. Theo Schroeder. So he's just gone through the first corner and heading back to the second corner. Another heavy braking zone into the second corner. Puts it in on the right, hard again on the power, all the way down to first gear there. And then, sorry about the glitch there, but trying to reduce the amount of downforce that he's got on the car at the moment in his setup to maximise that. There's 283 k's before he then brakes for the hairpin at the end of the fastest part of the course. So I think Teo's having a couple of connections issues this evening. I'm expecting him to be flat through this right-hander. Yep, there we go, easy done, and into and under the eyes of all of those Mercedes employees potentially in the grandstand right there. Nice wide couple of corners as we then are approaching the old arena section. And the famous Sachs curve. So quite a bit of camber on this corner, using all of that to his advantage. As you see, Pedersen set a 27.1 in the top left-hand corner. Coming around the final couple of corners now, past the drag strip. What can Schroeder do? Missed a couple of apeces there, I'm going to have to say. Across the line he comes, and he's just less than half a second off at the moment. It's his first flying lap, but both in the first corner. But not a bad start there, Isaac.
No, not a bad lap at all there for the German of Theo Schroeder. Getting a little bit of oversteer in a couple of places, like a couple of apeces, like you were saying, but its tyres won't be fully up to temperature yet, so it's going to take this second flying lap he's on now, the tyres and the full car will be up to its proper operating temperature, so we should see those lap times dropping down and getting a lot more condensed over the next 15 minutes of qualifying for these LMP2 cars.
Yeah, as we see Gabriel Solomon, who is a new competitor in the AESC this week, he's sliding his car around quite a bit. Maybe needs to tune his traction control, or wait for his tyres to come up to temperature. Some of these drivers will have been part of the ISRC season finale, the 24 Hours of Le Mans recently, so they'll A, be tired, but B, they'll have a lot more downforce than they did at Le Mans.
Yeah, I imagine it's a big difference, especially for the guys in the LMP2 going from Le Mans, one of the fastest, if not the fastest racing track in the world. They're reaching speeds of nearly 340 kph in some places down the Mulsanne Straight, coming to Hockenheim with these, which is the exact opposite. You've got one long straight here, which we're currently seeing Gabriel Solomon go through. But everywhere else is really tight and twisty with high downforce. So it's going to be a real challenge for those drivers who've competed in both. And if we're going to speak about that race, we've got Marcus Sarholm, who's currently sitting in third. He was the winner after 24 hours yesterday. So congratulations to him and all of his teammates at Aquiver Motorsports. If I'm not mistaken, Theo Schroeder was actually in the third placing Aquiver Motorsports car in the LMP2 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you are right there. Isaac, we did have him in the commentary box after the race to let us know how it went, and yeah, they were very pleased with their third place, their podium finish.
Rightfully so. I mean, passing a car around for 24 hours is no easy feat, and to do it and be faster than all the other competitors out on track is definitely something, and takes quite a bit of skill and talent to do. As you see Marcus running just slightly wide there, clearly used up all of his skill and talent yesterday, and hopefully we'll be able to dig deep and come out with a good result. He's won 2 out of the 3 races, unfortunately having a fairly rough round last week at Canadian Tire, meaning that he finished last of all the running LMP2s, but he'll be looking to find a better result today.
Yeah, he will be getting used to the high downforce setup of his Dallara P217, as we have had Finn Nargaard Pedersen go even quicker in his Obsidian Edge Dallara. He's now sitting on a 1:26.908, so as Schroeder then improves to just sit 3.5 tenths behind him.
It's impressive seeing all these drives being able to get so close to one another. I mean, if you look at Formula One nowadays, I know a lot of people complain about it, but you have qualifying times. You have the whole grid will be 3 seconds. You're normally, if you're looking outside of seconds, you'll probably get that in the top 8. Whereas when you come over to prototype racing, and especially, or just any sports car racing, especially GT3s, you can have, if I cast my mind back, I believe it was Monza in 2016, where we had the full grid, or at least the top 45 at least were within a second, and it's just ridiculous how fast and how close these sports car races are, and it is a battle of the 10th. I'm sure, like I said, as we see the session go through, we'll see drivers' times condensing as they manage to push the cars further to their limits. On the edge of the limits, there's Gabriel Salomon running wide. He'll be making his way back to the pits now so that he can get on a fresh set of rubbers and head out again for another qualifying sim. Halfway through the session now, 8 minutes has gone, another 7 minutes remaining for these LMP2s before we'll be hearing the varies of the GT3s roaring out onto track. As we're looking at the provisional pulse at the moment, Finn Norgard Pedersen.
Yeah, quite a quick and quick fire qualifying section format in AESC for this first season. Only 15 minutes, and so Solomon will have to reset his mind and along with the car and get fresh set of boots and have to go again, put that behind him, and make sure he is in the right mindset to storm up the pack again.
Yeah, I can agree. I was just reading chat here as having a look at what you guys are saying. You've got Vince's Loyola saying that he wishing everybody the best of luck and saying that he'll be joining us next round at Road America, so it'll be good to see him out on track again. And Folks is saying good luck to Jarman as well, one of I believe the GT3 best competitors today. Yes, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So maybe means you won. We're wishing everybody best of luck today out on track. You don't have a massive grid today, but it doesn't mean that we won't have brilliant racing.
No, absolutely right there, Isaac. We had a fantastic race. As John Hindhaugh says, it only takes 2 cars to have a race. So no, we had a brilliant race of first round out at Spa-Francorchamps. The slipstreaming battle of the Aquiver Motorsports cars between Marcus Soholm and Theo Schroeder was definitely something to watch. And then, last time out at Canadian Tire Motorsport, it was a bit of a battle of attrition. A couple of the bumps were found by our LMP2 competitors and fired them off. Left, right, and centre it seemed, but certainly the Obsidian Edge car of Pedersen pulled through there and did his homework and managed to survive the race and come through with a convincing victory.
Yeah, he was strove the perfect race as far as Ineos is concerned. It looks like he's currently on to do a similar thing today, if we're judging things off of qualifying. A lot of competitors were struggling last week by a rather obscure bump going down into the double apex right-hander before the back straight. There was an odd bump which seemed to be running across the entire circuit, which a couple of drivers were getting wrong. It would just seem to spin the car almost at random. Larry Capello, unfortunately, falling for that 3 times over the course of the race, meaning that he went from second back down into third place, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't look like we're going to have such a rough track surface today. Hockenheim being recently had its track surface redone, if I'm not mistaken. So it is a lot smoother compared to some of the previous rounds at Watkins Glen and Canadian Tire.
Yeah, an FIA Grade 1 circuit that has hosted the German Grand Prix on many occasions. So looks like Norgard Pedersen has gone purple in the middle sector. Let's see what he can do as he crosses the line. Doesn't improve. So he's lost 3 tenths there to his current pole position time. Solholm has closed up there into, well, the whole field has closed up there. Solholm and Schroeder under 2 tenths behind, and that bodes well for the race.
Indeed, it does. If the time's going to be as close as qualifying suggests, we should have a pretty tasty battle on our hands for the top 3 LMP in LMP2. Gabriel Sommels yet to set a competitive time. He's on a flyer at the moment, so we'll be able to see what he's going to do at the end of this. No doubt he'll be able to improve. He's going to want Pedersen to get out the way if possible. I don't know if he's going to have dirty air.
I think Solomon might be on an outlap there.
Is he on an outlap? Yes, he is. Sorry, my bad. So he's going to try and create a gap then to Norgard Pedersen before he starts his qualifying lap.
Yeah, and these cars do suffer from quite a fair amount of aero wash, so you are correct, he will be wanting to get out of the dirty air before he starts that lap, as Norgard Pedersen is probably on another flyer. Oh no, as that's the outlap gone for Solomon. He'll have to tow from there, just finding the limit and going over it ever so slightly, and unfortunately that is the consequence of that particular corner.
Yeah, unfortunate to see that happening. Obviously, the tyre's not up to full operating temperature, and just dropping the rear wheel onto the curb, spinning it up as on that freshly painted concrete, and putting the car in the inside barrier. Easy to do. Now, I've done it several times, not at this track, but at other tracks. And I'm sure that's not the last time we'll see that throughout qualifying.
As we have another Ollie Colin chat wishing Jamie Daniels a good race. He'll be out in the Omega Racing BMW M4 GT3 in a minute and a half. I think there's only a short gap between the finish of the LMP2 category qualifying and the start of the... as there's a big slide for Pedersen into turn 4 there. But he carries on. He's still pushing hard. It shows how much this pole position means to him. He's pushing hard even though he's a tenth and a half up at the moment, and Solholm is currently still in the pit, so he won't be able to set another lap time. He's called it for the moment. But it doesn't look like Pedersen's improving so far on the sector times. But you never know, he might average out as an improvement, as he uses a lot of the curb and a bit more on the exit. Pedersen carries round and did a 27.6, so 8 tenths off his best at the moment on that particular attempt, but he's still winding himself up for another a final attempt, as Solomon behind him will be looking to get a bit closer to the pack as well.
Indeed, he will. I'd just like to go back there. You managed to pick on that as Jamie. I was reading that as Jammer. So well done there, Martin. I was not able to pick up on that on the YouTube chat there. We're seeing him and the other GT3 competitors out any minute now. So this will be the last laps for these LMP2s. Looks like Norgard Pedersen's aborted his lap, not going to improve on his. And saw Gabriel Solomon a bit of a slide on, so he's going to want to have a good last sector here to make up that time. Yeah. Currently sat just over 2 seconds off the pole at the moment.
Yeah, and just looking at the championship standings and how it's played out at the moment, we've had 3 different winners in LMP2 in 3 rounds. So we've had Marcus Solholm one. Oh, as Solomon is still struggling with that corner. And that'll be his last attempt at it before the race starts. So that's unfortunate to see. But sorry, going back to the yeah. So Solholm won the first race. Theo Schroeder won the second, and Finn Norgard Pedersen on screen at the moment won the third. So we have a chance. It looks like we're going to have our first repeat winner of the series.
Unless Salomon's able to win.
That is very true. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say it's unlikely at the moment. But then again, it is motor racing, and anything is possible.
True. Yeah, very true. We saw yesterday in ISRC. In LMP1, we saw countless lead changes, as well as in the GT3 competition. Every hour or so, pretty much up until the last hour, we had several different leaders in each of those classes, just showing how strong these races are and how high attrition it is in a 24-hour race. But it's a sprint race like this. It's like a 24-hour condensed down into just 1 hour, and everybody's pushing just as hard as they would be in a 24. But actually, it's harder in the 24. So we'll see mistakes coming a bit more and possibly more lead changes.
As we will take a quick look as the the GT3 category cars go out onto the circuit to start their qualifying and do their outlap. We can see Marcus Solholm is at the top of the championship table with 45 points. Behind him is Theo Schroeder for Aquiver Motorsports on 38. Hugh K. Cox, another Aquiver Motorsport driver. You might see a bit of a theme here. Life Vichel, Haycox on 20 points, and then Vichel and Corpea on 16 points apiece. Should she showing Finn Norgard Pedersen as on 25 points actually after his win last week? I'm not sure what's going on there, I'm afraid, but no, that is definitely correct. That Pedersen will be on 25 points and therefore third in the championship as the GT3 cars come round to start their qualifying.
Yep, thanks for bringing that up there, Martin. Looking here at our last time winner, John Derrick, we saw him at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park pulling off a very interesting strategy, going the full race without pitting at all. So he managed to make 75% of a tank go the full race distance. That'll be roughly 70 litres, I believe, in the McLaren. He managed to make that last an hour, which is very impressive for me. I wonder if we'll see something similar happen today.
Yep, as we will go on board for a lap of the Hockenheimring with John Derrick in his fire-spitting McLaren. Oop, he's pulled out of that one very quickly. We'll find somebody else, shall we? Martin H. Davidson in his Lamborghini, coming through the arena section now through Sachs Curve.
Martin Jacobson running the backmarker racing colours. It's the first time we're seeing a backmarker racing car in this championship.
You have to say, backmarker racing prolific in this sort of endurance sports car sort of championship, aren't they? So good to see them on track, and takes a couple of gears down for the first corner. Up into fifth, and spotting his braking point a little bit earlier than the other G2 cars. Flowing in to the right, and then using as much of the runoff and getting a straighter run out of that corner as you can. And then the long old slog down to turn 4. And then a bit of the sharp intake of breath perhaps as he finds his braking point and hits the brakes as hard as he can. The ABS will be helping him absolutely as he goes into that corner, and the traction control is in touch with the soft curve on the way out. That sounds flat through there past Kingford 6, but let's run a bit deep into 7. Sounded flat through the Kingford 6, but excuse me, didn't sound easy there, I think. one corner now, heading back towards the Sachs curve, and the amount of grandstand seating that's available here at the Hockenheimring. You look up the DTM Championship, the Deutsche Turnbahn Meisterschaft of the early 90s, and you will see this absolutely full, and this venue is traditionally used as the DTM Championship on the side, and yeah, an absolutely amazing spectacle to behold at the end of the season.
DTM obviously taking a big change this year, going to these GT3 cars, running a Ferrari, BMW, Mercedes and Audi, switching away from the previous DTM cars. So it'll be interesting to see another GT3 championship sparking up somewhere. So if I'm not mistaken, I think they're slightly higher powered than the standard GT3s, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you are correct there, Isaac. They're trying to separate themselves a little bit from standard GT3 racing, because you've obviously got the ADAC GT Masters series within, you know, Germany and surrounding countries, and then also, of course, the SRO run I think it's called, what is it? The GT World Challenge series. I can't remember I can't keep up with all of the names that they continue changing it to, but yeah, nonetheless, the SRO run series of Stefan Vettel.
Yeah, so the GT World Challenge Europe is the current one, which is circulating through Europe. I think that's what the
powered by Amazon AWS, I think, or something like that as well.
Okay, it's changed again. Never mind. I thought to be corrected. Obviously, the GT3 racing and sports car racing around the world. I want to say the peak of its potential. We see different series throughout the years coming in and out. Obviously, we saw it would have been the 70s. British touring car was very popular, whereas we then saw F1 take over for a short while, and now it looks like GT racing is where all eyes are, and rightfully so. It's really entertaining racing, seeing these sports supercars of all different sizes and shapes taking to a track and battling at the same pace, which is really entertaining and brings some great stuff to watch. As we now look at Silas Nikolsson making his way out onto track. Currently the slowest of our competitors to have set a lap time, but even then only 1.1 seconds off the pace. And with another 12 minutes yet to go, we should see these times drop down. Of course, Nikolsson being an amateur driver, we've got both a pro and an AM category in this. Jamie Daniels and Nikolsson running in the AM category with John Derrick, Juan Sanchez and Jonas Beckman running in the pro cars. On board with Jonas Beckman, another Aquiver Motorsports driver. We saw him driving yesterday in the Intercontinental Sim Racing Challenge 24 Hours of Le Mans. Pull up, see quickly what car he was in. I believe it was the GT, if I'm not mistaken. See if I can find out for you in a couple of minutes. As we're looking now at Jamie Daniels, he's our championship leader, if I'm not mistaken, in the GT3 AM category. Yes, he is. Joint with Silas Nikolsson.
I was about to correct you there. Absolutely. Yeah. So they are both on 61 points, and those are, I believe, the only drivers that have been recorded to score points that have turned up today. But points down to 10th place in class. So everybody that finishes the race will be classified and will score those all-important points for the championship.
Yep, as just looking at the standings, quite interesting that both Nikolsson and Daniels have got one win, one second place, and one third place apiece. So if it comes down to a draw at the end of the championship and they're carrying off the current rates, there's not going to be a winner if the championship was to end now. They're both drawing on points, wins,
championship at that rate, depending on what Marcus Solheim comes up with as a potential tiebreaker, but in the first round, the first season of the British Saloon Car Championship, as it was known then, they ended up with two drivers on the same amount of points at the end of the season, and they didn't have a tiebreak rule which counted the number of wins or second places, much like Formula 1 and other series have today. What they decided was they would get two cars and they would do, I think it was a 2-lap shootout at Brands Hatch in Kent, south of England. They would record the difference in time between when each one of them crossed the line, and it was a race, so they set both cars off at the same time. And so they did two races, one in each of the cars, and therefore the championship was not decided by the number of points somebody had or the number of wins that they had, but it was actually decided by time, because they each had one win apiece, and they I can't remember what his name was, but the driver that won the championship won the first race by a greater amount than he lost the second race, so therefore was crowned champion that day.
It must be quite rough if you're a better qualifying driver than others, because you'd be shaking your head at that. You'd know that there's a lot of you. It's interesting to see that's the way they chose to do it, and maybe if we do have a tiebreak off, Marcus will choose to run a similar system to that. It'll definitely be more interesting than a break off, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would be it's definitely interesting to see different formats and different ideas that people come up with across sim racing and across the world.
Lots of series using different ideas. The biggest innovator of such at the moment is Formula E. They're bringing lots of new things with the fan boost and the. You have to correct me. There's a special pole position. I want to say hyperpole, but that is for mostly Formula 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Hyperpole is the new Le Mans setup that they use to decide the top category Le Mans grid for that. Formula E uses probably one of the most complicated systems around. So because of the short tracks that they use and the highly competitive nature of it, they use 4 groups of cars to go out. Out of, I think there are 22, 24 cars on the grid, so each group has 5 or 6 cars in it, and if you're at the head of the championship, then you'll go out in the first group, and if you're at the back of the championship, you'll go out in the last group, and that tries to throw a bit of a curveball for those that the track cleans up an awful lot in Formula E, so therefore the faster cars at the head of the championship go out first on a worse track, on a very green track, and set worse times, or you can set a good time if you manage to hook it all up. But then at the end of that, they do have a 1-lap shootout for each of those drivers in the top 6, I believe. So yeah, quite an entertaining and long-winded approach of doing it, but nonetheless, over the course of the championship season, it certainly provides a lot of entertainment.
Yeah, and it's nice to see series and organisations differentiating away from the standard, which is either one big qualifying session or typically 3 separate qualifying sessions with the fastest drivers going through into the next until you're decided with one faster driver, which, yeah, it works. It's just you often end up seeing the same people at the front of the grid every race, but it makes for some interesting racing. And like you said, it's interesting. It's good to see other organisations changing up the way that qualifying formats run, and I hope that people don't stop doing that, and especially in iRacing, if we could see more championships deciding to change up how they want to qualify and do races, it'll be a lot of fun for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I started watching Formula 1, that it was a 60-minute session, open session, and they'd all wait. Like I said, with the Formula E, the track would clean up quite a lot, and they'd put more rubber down that they were using, whether it be Michelin or Bridgestone at the time. there was a bit of a tyre war going on there. And yeah, some of the teams at the bottom end of the field would go out first and kind of sweep the way for those quickest. But then yeah, there used to be a bit of a mad dash or a bit of a poker game going on between the teams to see who was going to go out and get the track position, or would you wait a little bit longer and see if you can gain an advantage with a slightly more rubbered in circuit. Certainly not the 3 sessions in an hour that they have these days. It is quite different.
Yeah, they trialed the, I believe it was 2016, they had the time session where every minute they would remove one driver.
Yeah, it went really badly at Australia, didn't it? Opening round of the season, Bernie Eccleston thought he had a great idea. Turned out it wasn't so much, and that soon got canned because it just didn't work. Formula One was not the place to have that. I think if maybe you were doing radio controlled racing or qualifying on a much shorter circuit, that would work. But 5 or 10 or 20-second lap times, but eliminating a car every minute or minute and a half, I think it might have been. Yeah, it just wasn't the format for Formula One, I don't think, and Formula One's viewers.
Yeah, exactly, it is, and it's maybe we'll see other organisations like Formula E bring in something similar if they're constantly evolving, like I said. So it'd be interesting to see if they can bring in something like that and make it work, which on a shorter track is possible to do. Maybe upping the time, like you said, to perhaps 2 minutes or something, so that drivers do get a chance to settle the times. Speaking of time, we're coming close to the end of this session. 32 minutes have passed, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, yep, 32 minutes have passed. 2.5 minutes left. 4 drivers set their lap times. One of them is out on lap at the moment, Jamie Daniels, who we're currently on board with. He's going to be coming around to finish off his lap. He's currently provisionally P2 overall and P1 in the GTM standings, and his main rival, Nicholson, is only 800s behind him. So it looks like in GTEM it's going to be an absolute cracker of a race.
Yeah, and Nicholson is on an out lap, so he'll be hoping for one last roll of the dice for 524 International Racing as he comes down to the hairpin, turn 6 off the Hockenheimring, taking it nice and steady out of there, trying not to wear out the nice sticky rubber that is on the outside of all of these tyres at the moment. As I've seen in the Discord server chat that all of the drivers are in at the moment, Marcus Solholm, the series organizer, is going to give John Derrick a Mr. Fuel Save tag, I think, and John's replied, I don't think he's going to try it today. Not enough hills to go rolling up and down as we saw last week at Canadian Time Motorsport Park. So
epic performance by himself, managing to make an entire race on 1 tank of fuel. But yeah, like you said, no hills here, and I think the biggest elevation change will be from the bottom to the top of the sash curve. To be honest with you, that's a rather flat track, so is Hockenheim, but this part of Germany isn't known for its hills. Colshan starts what will be his last qualifying lap. He's going to have to make this one a good one as he comes down towards turns number 2 and 3. 2 being the tight right-hander before he kicks through this turn 3 down towards Parabolica. And then the hairpin of turn 6. Deciding to run quite a wide line at first and then cutting in close, taking some of the curb, kind of a mid-apex corner before drifting back out again. Staying just off the white line, breaking down after the 150-meter board. Looking to get a good exit here. Late apex on the power as early as you dare. Not careful not to run out and use all of that sausage curb as he makes his way down towards turn 7. Flat out in all of these cars. Incredible the downforce that you have on them nowadays. Staying as tight as he can before the Mercedes arena section. Again, another late apex corner. Able to run fairly tight on exit, so good run through there, and nearly flat out. Like, you got to play with the throttle and brake here to get the car turned in before heading down towards Mobile 1. Just a lot of the P2s having problems here in qualifying. Looks like he's not going to suffer a similar fate, running very close to the gravel trap there before coming into the sash curve. Taking it as tight as he can, a bit like a banked oval corner that is, before coming through this flat out turns of 13 and 14 for this turn 15 where we saw Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have their offs 2 years ago in F1, and then coming through Sud curve, the final corner up towards the start finish line to finish his final lap time. Is he able to improve?
Did a
No, he's not.
38.433, so that is just under a tenth, sorry, off his best, as qualifying is about to come to a close. Just waiting for the iRacing session to switch over, and then we will bring you the grids for all of our race today.
Yeah, just looking at our times at the moment, it looks like it's going to be quite an interesting race. It's definitely going to be close at the top end of LMP2, the top three being within 1.3 seconds. Before we look down in the GT pack again, as GT racing always is, you don't have more than 2 tenths separating a single car. So it looks like if we're going to base everything off qualifying, it's going to be a really close, tight race. And with the tight, twisty section at the end of the lap and then this long, open first half, I reckon it's going to lead to some fairly interesting battles and great overtakes. So drivers wish one another luck before the start of the race. Just 11 seconds till we can bring up the finishing results from qualifying before we start this 1 hour long race.
If we have a little bit of time before the session clocks over, we'll... Oh, as we clocked over just now, that is absolutely fine. We shall bring up the grid then. We'll look at the calendar later. So we got Finn Norgard Pedersen in his LMP2 car for Obsidian Edge with a 126.908 on the front row, and alongside him will be Marcus Soholm of Aquiver Motorsports, just less than a tenth and a half behind. On row 2 we have Tio Schroeder, also for Aquiver Motorsports, just under 2 tenths off Pedersen on pole position, and Gabriel Solomon lining up in 4th place, just over 2 seconds off the pace. He'll be looking to improve that for the hour-long race ahead of us.
Absolutely, as we look down to the start of our GT3 field. John Derrick, if I'm not mistaken, this is his 4th pole position out of 4 for the Rottenberry Racing driver in his McLaren, and just behind him we've got the AM driver of Jamie Daniels from Omega Racing. He is tied with the car that's just behind him in 7th overall on the grid, Celia Colshan, so it's going to be an interesting and tight battle to see what happens there. Zwan Miguel Sanchez Molina is starting in 8th place, the second of our pro drivers, Jonas Beckman for Aquiver Motorsports, just behind. And then taking up 10th and last on the grid overall is Martin Jacobson, new entry to the series, running for Backmarker Racing. That'll be your grid and all of the competitors for today as we get ready to start this 1 hour long sprint race.
And whilst the cars start warming up their tyres, I think they've started just before the that's going Mobile 1 curve. We'll quickly bring up the calendar. So the next round is at Road America next week, and then we move on to Sebring. A week off before we head back across the pond to Silverstone, and then back across the pond to Road Atlanta on the 17th of May, and then finishing off with an hour-long race at Daytona on the 24th. If you do want to get involved, there is a link in the description below, so join the Discord and get involved.
Yeah, we'd love to see this get bulked out a bit later on in the season as the drivers come around the Sud curve ready to start with the pole sitter Finn Norgard Pedersen ready to lead the way, and that's it. The race is now underway with Pedersen leading down towards turn 1, cutting off Solholm on the run down towards turn 1, slotting into line. Solomon able to get past Schroeder, and Marcus Solholm's going to try and make a move. He's looking to the outside going down towards turn 2. Is he going to be able to brake late enough? No, he's not. So Pedersen leads down onto the Parabolica for the first time with Marco Solheim just behind Gabriel Salmon able to make up one position into third place, and Theo Schroeder lost position down into fourth, as it looks like Solheim's trying up the inside. He's be able to get completely past, though he's not. Pedersen still holding that inside line for the hairpin, and Marco Solheim's been forced off wide. You can't be wide there on the exit of the track, or else you're going to run off like we just saw Marcus do. That's moved him back under pressure from Salmon behind. Is Salmon going to make a move up into the Mercedes arena, deciding to best of it? And looks like the positions are the same now as they were going through the Parabolica curve as we look down towards our GT3 competitors.
Yeah, and Jamie Daniels has had a fantastic start. Our AM leader is our AM leader is the overall GT leader now, as John Derrick was our was our GT pole position, but he's dropped down a couple of places and now sitting in third in GT.
Yeah, not a brilliant start for himself. Jamie Daniels getting a brilliant run there, gaining one position, able to make his way up to the front of the grid, and Juan Miguel Sanchez Molina able to get up as well now into second place. He's gained 3 positions off the start, so brilliant for him. And somebody who's lost quite a lot here is Nikolshin. He's down 4 places. That's the tied leader in the GT AM category, all the way back second last of the GT3 runners. He's going to want to start making his way back through the field. We know he's more than capable of doing so. Just so is Martin Jacobson, the car behind him. This is a very strong field that we've got out on track today. These two cars are going to want to work together in the slipstream to try and close up the gap to the cars up ahead. A little bit of a gaggle, as it looks like John Derrick is now challenging for second place in the forefront of screen. He's not making a move this time by. On the exit of the hairpin, is he going to be able to get a run out of here? No, he's not. The longer wheelbase of the McLaren having the advantage down the straights, but when it comes through to the corners, the Audi, which is rather wide, able to benefit from there as we come down to the Mercedes arena. Sanchez Molina not able to make a move at the moment on Daniels, although he's all over the rear bumper of that Omega Racing BMW. Though the absolute power there of the BMW being able to just launch out of that corner through this very technical mobile one right-hander, making sure they don't get on the gravel on the outside. And Molina not able to make a move yet, although next time by will be interesting to see what he can do coming down into the hairpin as he closes right up along that back straight.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see the different lines that these two drivers are taking. I mean, clearly the BMW ahead of Daniels is a little bit more understeering, but also has the power to be able to deal with that on-corner exit. And Suarez Melenis closes right up on the rear bumper of the BMW as Jamie Daniels goes defensive into the second corner. Daniels looks as if he'll keep it this time as Melenis keeps on the outside, and maybe he'll get him into turns 3 and out through the Parabolica. That's a fantastic manoeuvre in those combination of corners. And as Daniels then pulls left, and Derrick's also having a look as well in that McLaren, who you can't see that behind the BMW there. Absolutely swamped. No way through, but Daniels runs a little bit wide and Derrick has to fall in behind as a result of checking up. But Merlin is now at the head of our GT field. He'll be looking to pull away through the Mercedes corner here and then through the arena section of Mobile 1 and Sachs Curve. But yeah, fantastic to see the different abilities of these GT3 cars and how the drivers are dealing with them. Yeah,
it really is. We saw, like you were saying, the understeer was very obvious when going through the hairpin. We saw Daniels running quite wide there, just almost giving the position then through to Molina's in the mid-engined Audi. Although it's interesting, I'm just looking now that out of the AM cars that we've got in the field, the 3 AM cars, 2 of them are in BMWs, which is suggesting that the AM drivers favouring the more predictable, easy to handle front engine understeer cars over the almost randomly oversteery mid-engined.
Yeah, it seems to be the way. We saw 2 BMWs in the AM category last week, and I think it was 2 Lamborghinis in the Pro or 2 mid-engine cars certainly in the Pro category. So yeah, it's not entirely unexpected, I don't think, for our AM cars or AM drivers to look towards a bit of a safer car for them. Maybe their equipment or experience isn't quite as much as the Pro drivers, as John Derrick in his McLaren mid-engine car has gone through on the inside of Jamie Daniels at the hairpin. Let's get a little replay of that. See how he set it up through the parabolica, and a relatively easy one there. Jamie Daniels letting it go. Very nice. They're not competing for the same championship, so no reason to put up too much of a fight. But I'm sure he will be pushing as hard as he can to extend his lead over the remaining M cars and hopefully get on top of the championship as well.
Yep, I fully believe that Daniels will be able to keep with this leading pair. He's definitely got the pace to, and has shown in previous rounds that he's more than capable of doing so. It's just whether or not he can tame the front engine beast and not overdrive and sit in the slipstream of the cars behind. Although, if I'm not mistaken, he's got a bit of damage there to the front right-hand side of his car. Looks like he has. I wonder where he got that from. Was there a tap maybe when Molina's was involved there, or was that just from the start of the race?
You could be right there. It's not something I spotted at the start of the race, but as we have had a couple of off tracks, have a look at Martin Jacobson at the back of our GT field. He had a bit of a problem there through Mobile 1 and a huge spin as well. Was he going to hit the barrier? Well, he's held the brakes very well, and the ABS maybe actually did him a little bit of a favour there to on the grass to help that car stop, but bit of a spin. And well, we were just saying how difficult these mid-engine cars can be on a normal setup for AM drivers and fast corners.
Yeah, not only that, we saw earlier through the race, qualifying, in the Mobile 1 corner, we saw a lot of the LMP2 struggling through there. And first I see the GT3 struggle there, but let's go on limb and say it's not the last time that we're going to see that happen. It is a difficult corner, and yeah, I'm fully sure that we'll see some more cars struggling through there as we look. And it's a spin round there. Looks like he just locked up the rear slightly, sending the car into a spin at turn 2. That's Gabriel Solman. We saw him having a good start, and it looks like he's making his way back to the pits. Maybe he sustained some damage from that.
Yeah, maybe he's suffered a bit of a hardware failure as we now look at our LMP2 leader. But hopefully Solomon can get back out onto the track and complete some laps. It'd be good to see him finish and score some championship points. But yeah, if he has had a bit of a hardware failure at home or something that's caused him to into that spin, then as Sarholm in the background is certainly trying hard as he comes out of Sudkurve through Nordkurve, using all of the track. And oh dear, that's Martin Jacobson sitting on the inside of turn 1. Let's have a look at how he got there. Two accidents. Oh, that's a huge amount of curb. Yeah, I'm not surprised the GT3 car Lamborghini Huracan did not like that, and unfortunately nosed it into the barriers as well. Yeah, well, there we have it. I don't think Jacobson is particularly happy with his setup at the moment.
No, he's not, and unfortunately I can confirm that both Gabriel Salmon and Martin Jacobson have retired from the race. It's unfortunate to see that happen so earlier on, but I guess it's just one less competitor out on track for these guys to have to worry about, and now it means that we've got an all BMW category for GTM yet again. Yeah,
as Martin Jacobson's just posted in the YouTube chat, ouch, that one hurt. I'm not surprised that one hurt. His spine wouldn't have liked the amount of sausage curve that he took at on the apex, over the apex of the first corner, and then unfortunately the car didn't land particularly well and fired him into the inside barrier as a result as well. So I think his pride will be hurting for a little bit longer for that one.
Yeah, you better schedule a trip to the medical centre after that. That looked a bit rough, and make sure everything's all okay. Hopefully we'll see you out again into future rounds of the race. Saying that he didn't do much practice for the race, but did a good qualifying. Indeed he did. He was only a less than 2/10 off the car ahead of him, and less than a second off of the car in pole position, which is very good, especially for an AM driver, with all due respect. To be that close and bunched up throughout a field, unfortunately, just getting it slightly wrong in the race, leading to an early retirement. Hopefully we'll see him out on track again in future rounds to come. Next time, if not mistaken, we should be seeing him at the Porsche Cup Championship, the Intercontinental Sim Racing Porsche Challenge, which will be taking place this Thursday. Just trying to pull up what track that will be. If I'm not mistaken, that should be the
I'm afraid I can't
Donington Park.
Yeah, of course.
Donington Park, as it is. Donington Park.
I know Sapphire Sim Sports, Harry Harvey, who's currently sitting second in that AM Cup of the Porsche Challenge run by ISRC. He's very much looking forward to Donington Park this week, because he hasn't driven a lot on iRacing, but he's done an awful lot of laps of it on our factory various cars, and certainly looking forward to that, putting pressure on AM Cup leader Pete Pasto, who was a bit of a as we we'll get back to John Derrick and his fuel saving strategies, but yeah, so Pete Pasto last time out at Monza surprised us all by taking an overall win rather than just winning the AM Cup race. Race 1 that was, and Harry Harvey won race 2 as he did previous round as well, so very competitive. Now switching our attention back to what is on screen, we have John Derrick in his Rottenberry Racing McLaren, happy to sit behind Juan Melanos in his Audi ahead. Derrick has closed up quite quickly, I feel, over after he passed Jamie Daniels, and you hear Derrick using the clutch to do a bit of fuel saving. That's that fuel saving strategy. Ooh, as Melanos has hit the end of the sausage curve, and that won't have done the front of his Audi any good. Hopefully he hasn't sustained any damage there, but looks fine at the moment. As he blinks in and out, as and our LMP2 champion, leaders start to make their way through the traffic. As Solholm has managed to make the best of that traffic, and is now ahead of Pedersen as he gets a bit of a slide out of the final corner. And oh no, as that's Pedersen regaining the lead, and Solholm going incredibly wide in the first corner. Hopefully he doesn't get a slowdown for that. Yes, he's got a slowdown, and he'll have to serve that before the time runs out. And that's a great shame for our lead battle, but he'll recover and hopefully manage to close up again, or maybe another lap through, another pass through the traffic.
It'd be interesting to see if we get a replay of that overtake. Someone was saying he went 3 wide there across the start-finish line. As we see, this is what led to Marcus getting by. Just a little bump on the rear end. Let him know that he's there, and is Marcus able to go around the outside? Yeah, he is, and just making the best of traffic he could there. And then on the back, on the front straight, it looked like Pedersen are able to make it 3 wide to make his way past. So it's the first of 4 times that we'll be seeing the LMP2 cars make their way through the GT3 competitors.
Yeah, we'll just stick with this replay as we'll see the pass back by Pedersen up through the first corner, as he'll get a better run out of the final one. You see Solholm's line was compromised on the way in due to the GT cars being there.
Yeah, Pedersen getting very close and personal with the GT3 competitors, and Marcus, unfortunately, not being able to get out wide meant that he understeered at the apex and ran wide, meaning that he got that slowdown. The gap is now currently out to 1.7 seconds, and he's been doing the best that he can to make his way back up there and challenge for the race win.
Yeah, as we go back and look at a cracking battle, I thought John Derrick was going to sit behind Melanos, but he's clearly not happy with that. thinks that he can be quicker and potentially maybe fuel save another lap or two whilst doing it, because the man is all about fuel saving, it seems.
Fuel saving god. Look at that far. I'll go as far to say that he can make any amount of fuel last any amount of time. Sometimes if he's got a 1.2 litre in that and he's just put it into eco mode and is tootling around still at with winning pace.
Yeah, it was incredible how he did that at Mosport last week, but I'll be interested to see how many more laps he can do this week over the rest of his competitors, and again whilst he's at the front this week, whereas he happily dropped back last week to make that strategy work. We'll be expecting our GT cars in about 45 minutes into the race, so another 29 minutes, and about then they'll be making their pit stops. Our LMP2 category, however, will be stopping about 10 minutes earlier, at about 35 minutes into the 60-minute race.
Yep, the P2's running about 40 minutes on fuel. At the longer tracks such as Le Mans and Spa, they're only able to do 38 minutes as they're using a lot more fuel there. But I'm sure as many of you will be excited on the subject of LMP2s with the European Le Mans series in the real world starting up this weekend, and last weekend having the testing sessions for ELMS at Barcelona with United Autosports able to set the fastest time, John Van Utrecht, and a new LMP2 driver, if not mistaken, Patrick Pilet, was able to get the second fastest time. Is that the first time I've seen him in LMP2s?
That's the first time I've heard of him in an LMP2 category car. Obviously, Patrick is better known for his exploits as a Porsche factory driver, but unfortunately a bit of penny pinching in worldwide motorsport at the moment has meant that he's had to look elsewhere for drives, and I hope he's enjoying the change to a higher downforce, more agile car, and makes quite a difference from a Porsche GT car, no doubt.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of GT3 drivers making their way into LMP2 racing, as that's thriving more than it ever has done before. The likes of Kelvin van der Linde, Nicky Thiem, we're seeing there, along with some Formula 2 names of Jean Galale, who, if not mistaken, won the Asian Le Mans series, competing at Bahrain and the Yas Marina circuit earlier on in the year. So it's good to see the new names showing up in LMP2 racing, and they're just as competitive as they were in the GT field.
Yes, it's an interesting transition period for a lot of drivers as they look for drives elsewhere. Unfortunately, as you say, Aston Martin pulled out of GTE Pro Championship of the World Endurance Championship, and therefore Nicky Thiem has spread his wings, as it were, into LMP2. But John Derrick has just set the fastest time in GTE category. These guys are trading times. It was Melanus the previous lap who set the the class best. So they're now sitting on a 1:38.11 and a 1:38.14. So even though Melanus has given up the position to Derrick, or Derrick chose to pass him and make the move, but be slightly more aggressive a few minutes ago, he's managing to stick with him and have some competitive times, no less.
It'll be interesting to see whether John Derrick is still fuel saving in his McLaren. Just as we see Melanus blinking there through a session curve, I wonder if John Derrick, was he getting a bit hairy scary there, coming through Mobile 1 corner, able to keep a hold of his machine as he carries on. I wonder if the reason why John Derrick decided to pass is we've seen Melanus having some internet issues, so if he just feels more comfortable and more safe with Melanus in front, behind of him, whenever there's any blinking, rather than in front, not knowing where the car ahead is.
Yeah, that's a perfectly valid point there. I think as Derrick has gone faster again, so he's on 1:38.043 on that previous lap, and we'll ride on board with him a little bit longer, but it doesn't seem like when he's setting fastest laps of the race that he's going to do the fuel saving. through the arena section of Mobile 1 and Sachs curve, and it's incredibly smooth. There's no... Okay, we saw a little bit of oversteer through Mobile 1, turn 11, but beyond that, he's incredibly smooth with brake, throttle application, and also steering. Doesn't seem to be much extra he has to input into the car. He's got the setup dialed in exactly where he wants it, and is able to make the most of it for the moment.
Yeah, I imagine his tyres are absolutely loving him at the moment. The smoother you are with your brake, throttle and steering inputs, the more your tyres will, the longer your tyres will be able to go and the less you'll use them. So these very gentle driving styles are exactly what we want to see in races where tyre conservation is important. I know they cause a lot of problems in endurance races. We had a lot of teams struggling with Le Mans, and with the new GTE updates, the tyres are going about a third of the distance that they did beforehand. Meaning that tyre management is ever more important now than it has been before, and John Derrick's clearly a driver that's got that to a lockdown.
Yeah, as these guys have cleared off from Jamie Daniels behind, as unfortunately see Melenas blinking again in the background. I really hope that doesn't affect his race, as he's clearly got the pace to be in second, and he's in second on merit, despite his internet glitches. But yeah, these guys are fairly close on pace at the moment, and that's fantastic to see.
It absolutely is, like you said, just pulling away from the GTM leader of Jamie Daniels. Celia Nicolson's just behind, a 4-second gap. Last time by Nicolson setting his personal fastest lap, 38.8. Only half a tenth faster than Jamie Daniels, however, so he's going to have to keep ploughing at it in order to make his way back up through the field. But it's good to see him being faster and closing the gap up. Hopefully it'll give us a bit of a race to watch towards the end.
Yeah, as we look at the 5 most recent lap times of Daniels and Nicolaisen, maybe this is the start of a swing from the advantage of Daniels has in his BMW to the setup that maybe Nicolaisen has on his BMW, currently sitting in second place in that category.
Yeah, maybe, like I was saying earlier, the tyres and fuel being in the car isn't really suiting Jamie Daniels, and once the fuel starts dropping out, both the tyres are wearing more and the car's a lot heavier and lighter, and it's maybe a little bit more tricky for him to handle, whereas Nicolson's able to... This car's favouring the lower fuel loads he'll have in the car. These drivers are... got about another 15 minutes... another 20 minutes left, sorry, until they make their way into the pit lane.
Yep,
to fill up.
As Derrick sets another fastest lap for GTE... Sorry, for GT3. He's, man, just like his exhaust, is on fire.
Yes, very well said there. Nearly only 10 seconds back now from the leaders in LMP2. Marcus Solholm still not able to close up the gap after his excursion that we saw earlier on in the race on lap 10. The gap's currently at 2.3 seconds, so it's actually opened up since he had that off last time by setting the all-time fastest lap, however, though, of a 27.1. So actually, if we look on this here, we might see him closing up. It'll only be another 15 minutes until these guys are in the pits and filling up towards the end of the race. Yeah,
it looks like certainly swung between laps 14 and 15 for LMP2 leaders. A 1.2 second difference in lap times there between lap 14 and 15 that Solholm was managed to swing it by, and another half second he gained on Norgard Pedersen lap 16. So at the end of lap 17, let's see what the difference will be. Yeah, as you say, Solholm's got it down to a 2.3 second gap. He's clearly in the groove. Coming through Sachs curve now and accelerating out through the kink of 13 and 14, and then you'll go past the drag strip on the left hand side of screen there, through Sudkurva and out through across the line. It looks like Norgard Pedersen will has been affected by traffic, and Solholm has managed to close in nearly a second. So that is the effect of traffic in multi-class racing, it can make or break you, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's all important in these multi-class races, having the outright pace on a clean lap to be able to compete with the competitors. But once you're in one of the LMP1 or LMP2 cars, it's even more important to have this multi-class knowledge and pace on passing competitors and knowing when it's best to stay behind. It can make or break your race and save you quite literally minutes over the course of the longer races.
Jamie Daniels in the rearview mirror. Taking a lot of curve there at turn 10. Third gear, a lot of curve on the inside. I think that will save, gives him a lot more room on the outside and a lot more throttle to play with on exit. Slight slide there out of the exit of Sax curve. This just looks like Underseed City through these last two corners, however. Across the line to start, lap 19.
Last lap, Pedersen being just 1/10 faster than Solheim. Obviously, Solheim getting the traffic through the hairpin, which would have allowed Pedersen to pull away that little bit. But the gap's down to 1.6 seconds now for the lead of your race, as that is our leader of GTE. And it's worth noting that Molinas has entered the pit lane. He's decided to come into the pits early, and he's going to be taking fuel, meaning that John Derrick now is running by himself. Molina Sanchez going for the undercut.
Yeah, that's very early for him to hitting at just 27 minutes, but yeah, it will be possible if he's managed to put in a half tank of fuel, or two-thirds of a tank of fuel for that first opening stint, and then he's going to go out again. Maybe he thinks that having less fuel in the car across the course of the race then will give him outright pace and allow him to push Derrick all the way to the end.
Yeah, these drivers will know their strategies better than we do, and yeah, like you said, it could be short fueling, or realizing that the clean air might benefit him more. But that does promote Jamie Daniels up into second place, and he's able to, at the moment, hold the gap to Nikolshin. That being said, Nikolshin almost half a second faster last time by, although the gap is still 4.5 seconds. It's really worth noting that whichever driver finishes ahead in this race will take the lead of the championship, as they're both tied on points. So as this is an all-important race for both of these drivers in their battle for the title.
Yes, and this being round 4 of a 9-round series, we're pretty much at halfway. Next time out, the Road America will be the very middle race, but yeah, to be tied on points halfway through the season is impressive, and hopefully that tight closeness will continue for the rest of the rounds.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a ding-dong battle. Daniels winning one race, Nikolshin winning the next. Jonas Beckman currently sat P4, but once all the pit stops shake out, it will be P5. He's one of the pro drivers. Is this his first round of the championship? I can't remember if we've seen him before.
Whilst you look that up, we'll have a look at one Miguel Sanchez Melena. So he came out of the pits, and his last lap time was a 2:21.7. As a result of that, he spent 25 seconds stopped in his pit box, which will be the all-important number to remember. Hopefully you can then compare that against Derrick's pit stops and Jonas Beckman's as well, to see if Melinas has had to put any extra fuel in, and then that will be counter off against the extra pace that he might have by having less fuel in from the start of the race and now as well.
Yes, it will. Just check that up. I had a bit of a bit of a smooth brain moment there. Jonas Beckman has attended every round so far in the championship. He's currently sat second. I don't know where I gave that from. I'm fairly sure I'd seen it before. But yes, he's attended every round. He's currently sat on 52 points behind John Derrick, who, like I said earlier, has won every single race so far. So looks like Beckman will be doing all that he can to close up the title fight, because if John Derrick wins this race, it means he's only got one more before he seals off the championship. And might, if things carry on the way they are, he'll win the championship with 4 rounds left to go.
That would be an astonishing effort if he was managed to do that. So yeah, he would need. He'd need a decent lead if he was going to do that. If 4 rounds left, he'd need 100. Sorry, if after round 5 he's had a 100-point lead, then yeah, he will be able to take home the championship with a clean sweep. And I'm sure he'll turn up to the rest of the rounds if he does win the championship at that point, because he's clearly enjoying the car and the track combinations that the Aquiver eSports Championship provides.
Yeah, although I must admit, I feel like he might need to award the championship to the clutch paddle that he's got rather than himself, because that's been a large playing factor so far this championship's his fuel-saving abilities, like we've said many times before, for the Rottenberry racing driver. Yeah, he's able to save an uncanny amount of fuel.
Yes, he must have been practicing that a very long amount of time, as Nicolaisen has just set the fastest lap in GT AM, so he's done a 1:38.744, coming towards 15 minutes within the 15-minute of the GT pit window. That fuel is obviously burning off and using all of the power of that BMW M4 GT3 to good use, and yeah, as he comes through the parabolic, he'll be reaching max speed for this race.
Yeah, like I said, it's a bit of a ding-dong battle between these two, not only the championship, but this race. Every single time that Nicolaisen goes out and sets a fast lap, Jamie Daniels seems to make up whatever time Nicolaisen made on the previous lap. The gap is constantly remaining at 4.6 to 4.4 seconds, and has done for the last couple of laps, and or at least every time that we look on it, it has been. And yeah, so although Nicolaisen seems to have the outright pace at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Daniels set a fast lap this time by reacting to Nicolaisen's last lap pace.
Yeah, as we'll have a look at the front of our field, and Marcus Solholm has closed up now, so he's 2.3 seconds behind last time that we had a look at him, but now he's closed up just under a second as they break for the Mercedes corner, turn number 8, as Pedersen's going to get walked behind the Melanas and allow Solholm to close in.
Fortunately, Pedersen just getting slightly caught up in traffic on the exit of the Mercedes arena, deciding not to make a move up the inside of Melanas in the Audi. That does mean that Mark is able to close up within 1 second, meaning that you will have that all-important slipstream effect going through out of turns 16, 1 and 3, down these long straights, where he's going to be trying to get as close as he can and brake as late as he dares into the hairpin corner of turn 6.
Yeah, as Solholm closed in 6 or 7 tenths that last lap, so Melanas in his GT3 Audi R8 playing an all-important role potentially at the moment, closing this lead battle in LMP2 right up, as now Solholm is the distance between the cars may not may look quite large there through the parabolica, but actually the aero wash, due to the amount of speed that these guys carry power in their Delaras powered by Gibson, will cause quite a lot of a quite a large slipstreaming effect, and they'll be able to close that on the faster sections quite easily.
Yeah, well said. And last time I looked here, the gap was 7 tenths. It's still at 7 tenths at the moment. So I'm not able to close up. Maybe that aero wash is slightly too much through the corners Solheim to close up, although we do have traffic up ahead as Marcus through the arena section. As we see Pedersen enter the pit lane, that's him pulled into the pits to make his one and only pit stop after 35 minutes of running. He's going to be going on the undercut of Marcus Solheim in his Dallara P217. As last time by, Marcus sets his all-time fastest lap time and fastest lap of the race at a 27.16.
Yeah, very interesting. That looked like a bit of a late call from Norgard Pedersen to go into the pit lane. Maybe he looked down at his dash and realised he didn't have enough fuel to do another lap just at the last second. But yeah, combining that with the fact that Marcus Solheim has done a 27.16, then and fastest lap of the race by 2.5, but yeah, by about 2/10, then Solheim's really enjoying the slow fuel section of the race and putting it all to good use. These laps will be crucial for Solheim if he's going to manage to do the overcut, as it were, over Norgard Pedersen. But Jonas Beckman, unfortunately, maybe slowing him down a little bit there on the outs as he now comes through the Mobile 1 curve towards Sachs curves. We'll be interested to see if Solheim pulls off this time round into the pit lane.
That's not what he wanted, getting stuck there behind Beckman. That will have held him up quite a lot as he decides to go for another lap. Like you said, these cars should be going for around 40 minutes, so we see him in most likely at the end of this or the next lap will be when we'll see him come in with another 5 minutes on top of that before we look into the GT3 competitors. As Theo Schroeder, the other LMP2 driver still out on track, makes his way into the pit lane for fuel, and won't be any tyres in this 1 hour long race, and he's going to get back out there again and try to close up the gap that has been created to the front two.
Yeah, so we looking at the timing screens, so Finn Norgard Pedersen stopped for just under 21 seconds, 21.73 seconds in the pit stall. So we'll be comparing that against Theo Schroeder's pit time. He should be leaving any time soon, so 21.1 seconds I have recorded there, so very similar, and status quo for our second and third place drivers at the moment.
Yep, the gap's currently from Marcus to Pedersen is 43 seconds in the pit lane. Pedersen spent 48 seconds in the pits, and same for Theo Schroeder. So as it stands at the moment, Solheim's going to lose 5 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, through the pit shuffles. You see him pulling into the pit lane now. This should be interesting. Is Pedersen going to be able to get the pull on him? If my timing screen suggests... If our time goes as it suggests, it looks like he might have lost 5 seconds through all this.
Yeah, so on the track map on the right-hand side of your screen now, we have Solheim in the pits highlighted in yellow and green, whereas the yellow number 2 of Pedersen is coming round the Sachs curve now. Let's see how this all plays out. There he is, going through the King. Now is Solheim about to move? He is. And this could be quite tight, we think. Here comes Pedersen through the first corner. Exiting now, he'll be looking in front of him, I think. Yep, that is Solheim ahead, so Solheim has managed to do the overcut. Unfortunately, Isaac, your calculations were incorrect. Unfortunately for Pedersen, he's now behind by about a second, so we're looking to get back in that slipstream through the parabolic and into the hairpin.
Yes, he will, and the car's just up the head of the road, a GT3, so this is going to be all beneficial for Pedersen as Solheim gets held up through the hairpin behind Molinas in his Audi. Though he's able to get by before the Mercedes Arena, and it looks like at the moment Pedersen's not going to be able to have that same luck unless he tries it up the inside. Yes, he does. He's going all balls out at the moment to try and close that gap up to Marcus, which is currently sat at 1.6 seconds. making their way down towards the Mobile 1 corner. We've seen LMP2 struggling here throughout qualifying and the race, using all of the available track surface, running out nearly to the gravel there. Just looking at the previous lap times on screen, or the gap rather, and the previous lap times. Everything's going up on screen now, ladies and gentlemen. So all the information you could possibly want is there for you. So Norgard Pedersen over Schroeder the last couple laps has had the pace. Schroeder, when we're looking at Solheim, unfortunately for Pedersen, he's not been able to have the same pace as Solheim. And yes, if we look there on Solheim's in lap, Pedersen lost that 4 seconds that I was talking about. So that there would have caused him to lose that advantage. He would have had that lead if he hadn't have had the issue on his lap. We don't know what that is, unfortunately. But yeah, that there might have just cost him his race.
Yeah, very interesting stuff, and that's why it's fantastic to be able to have a race long enough that we can see how these strategies and multi-class environment plays out before us, but then also short enough that we can get a decent race in without having to go on for hours and hours. And fantastic format this Aquiver eSports Championship is displaying.
Hour-long races being the same as you'd find in the pure sim racing school, as you would find in the ESS championships as well. So that's the same thing now. Actually being brought over by pure sim racing driving school. Sorry. So these are 1 hour long races. The ESS races obviously having LMP1s in this as well, and GTEs, but like both series, they do provide excellent racing, as the gap between these two here at the front end of GT3 AM, Jamie Daniels and Sila Nikolshin, has closed up by about a second. Nikolshin on Daniels. These drivers still yet to pit. We should be seeing them come in within the next 2 laps, sorry. And John Derrick undoubtedly will be going about 4 laps longer than everybody else in the GT3 category with his fuel-saving strategy if it carries out as it has every other round.
Yes, you could be right there. I think he might be asking McLaren for another remap of his engine after this round if he doesn't win it. But I don't think he's ever used full rich in that McLaren GT3. Just not his style.
It doesn't seem so. As the gap between him and his competitor here at the moment is our time screen says it's 1 minute and 1 second, but obviously Sanchez making a pit stop, although Molina's only spending 53 seconds in the pits. So by my calculations, as we all know how good they are,
you were only 4 seconds out last time.
I know, yeah. So John Derrick should go out with roughly a 10-second lead, as our GTE AM leader is in the pit lane, Jamie Daniels.
Yep, absolutely correct. So he's just pulled into his pit stall, from the GTE AM lead. As a point of reference, we had Melinas in his Audi R8, although in the Pro category he stopped for 25.3 seconds, whereas Daniels has only stopped for less than 14.4. So Melinas clearly choosing to split the race in half when he stopped with 27 minutes gone. And Jamie Daniels managing to make the fuel use up all of his fuel and his fuel allocation, take a shorter stop, and that strategy's bearing fruit for him, as he's now 4 seconds up the road of Melinas. You just saw in the background there as he heads through the Parabolica.
Just had to make a note as well that I remember when Melinas was in the lead, he ran wide coming out of the Mercedes arena and jumped over the curb, and you said that might have damaged the front of his car, and a lap later he got overtaken by Derek and was unable to get close to him still. And John Derricks, who's now in the pit lane, I wonder if he just had the pace advantage as Melinas had damage and he had to put in early to repair it.
Yeah, you could be right there, Isaac. As you see the flashing lights of the McLaren MP412C of John Derrick sitting in pit lane. I reckon he's probably turned off the engine, saved that little bit of extra fuel. He stopped for 14.1 seconds, so a very similar amount to Jamie Daniels in the Omega Racing BMW M4 GT3, and he's back out onto the racing track.
Yeah, as we see our other two competitors in GT3 making their way in. Asias Nikolshin, he's battling at the moment with Jamie Daniels for the lead. The gap was 3 seconds before the pit shuffles. What will it be after, as we see in the back of shot Jonas Beckman coming in his Lamborghini? If you look on screen, the number 2 car that makes his way past now means that Jamie Daniels has not only jumped in, but looks like he's extended his lead over Nikolshin to well over 7 seconds at this point.
Yeah, and this is quite a long stop for Nikolajson in his BMW 524 International Racing. He's been stopped for over 30 seconds, and he's actually been jumped by Jonas Beckman in the pits as well. I think he's got a bit of a problem there, Isaac.
Yeah, it must be. We've not seen his car go up on the jack, so he's not changing any tyres. It's possible that he's got damage or might have accidentally added too much fuel. Even then, he can disable it. So damage is the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head as we see him get moving again. They're stationary for 53 seconds. That's 40 seconds longer than any of his other competitors, with the exception of Melinas. As he gets underway again, unfortunately, the gap from himself up to Jamie Daniels is 44 seconds at this point. It looks like that's put him out of contention for the win in GT3
Yeah, absolutely. And that has pretty much handed the... Well, never say never, but with 13.5 minutes left, that will looks as if it's handed Jamie Daniels the GT Championship lead for the moment.
Indeed, it has. I wonder if he's noticed at this point. I'm sure he has that the gap to Nikolshin isn't as close as it was before. As we see our leaders, Marcus Solheim and Norgard Pedersen, making their way through. It's only 7/10 separating these two, so they're getting awfully close on track. Last time by Pedersen, not as fast as Solheim. Last lap by Pedersen, actually 9/10. Sorry, my bad. I was reading the tyres wrong there. Pedersen was 1/10 faster as Solheim gets caught up through the traffic that time, and this is going to give it all for Pedersen. He's going to be coming through the section curb. He's going to want to get up as close as he can to the back end of Marcus Solheim in his Aquiver Motorsports Solara P217. 2 corners yet to go before they finish off this lap. Gap still at 7/10, sorry. See what the lap times compare like as he comes across the line. Able to go half a second faster than Solheim last lap. Is that just down to traffic, or is there some pace involved as well?
My suspicion is just traffic for the moment. These guys have been quite evenly matched this race so far, but yeah, you could be right as the 12 minutes left now, and both of these guys will be on a very light amount of fuel. You can see through the final few corners on board with Pedersen that he had quite a bit of understeer in the early part of the corner, but then would get on the power, and a lot of power from these 4.2 litre V8s supplied by Gibson in all of the LMP2 cars, both the Dallara and the other chassis manufacturers in Europe in the Le Mans Series and other various championships around the world. But yeah, quite a bit of a little bit of oversteer as well, so cars are proving quite a handful on this smooth Grade 1 FIA circuit.
P2s will be getting their power reduction for the ELMS. They've already received it, and for the WEC season starting soon later this year. We'll be seeing the power reduction coming into LMP2s as the LMP1 car, the new LMH cars, Le Mans hypercars, will be introduced this year, which I'm sure none of us can wait for. It can't seem to come quick enough. It's been in the works now for several years, and I know for myself I've been very excited being able to see the same cars racing at not only Le Mans but at the Daytona 24. The gap at the moment's just gone out to over 1 second between these two competitors. Last time Solheim able to go a bit faster to open that gap back up again. Looks like they're just steadying it around the 1 second mark over the last couple of laps. Let's jump on board with Jonas Beckman, the Aquiver Motorsports GT3 Pro driver. He's sat at third at the moment behind John Derrick and Miguel Sanchez. as that angry looking LMP2 makes his way by. The speed difference is insane between these GT3 and LMP2 competitors. LMP2 is running near Formula 3 pace around a lot of these tracks. He uses a lot of curb there on the inside of the Mercedes arena. Carefully, don't use too much that sausage curb where you can bottom out these prototype cars and get floor damage, which will reduce your top end speed in iRacing. So you see him coming through the penultimate corner again.
Yeah, the lap or two that we spent on board with Norgard Pedersen, I wouldn't want to be driving that car. I mean, I'm more than sure he's quicker than me and more than capable than myself, but it did look quite a bit of a handful. Let's ride on board with Marcus Solholm and see how his car is handling, shall we? Run down to the hairpin, going through the parabolica, which is flat out for his braking point. See if he suffers the same amount of understeer. And whoop dear, as he's completely missed his braking point there and has to hit the brakes even more than usual and provide a bit of extra lock to get around the corner. And this is where Pedersen's car, to me, looked a bit of a handful, as lots of understeer and lots of oversteer on the next to the corners.
Bit of commentator's curse there in the hairpin as we saw Marcus getting the understeer. His car's looking a bit more stable than Pedersen. Maybe he's got a slightly better setup suited to this track. As we see him using just enough of that inside curb there. Interesting drop off there and turn 13 on the left hand side of the curb. His car's looking a fair bit more stable than Pedersen's, maybe, although we do know that an unstable car is a fast car, or a loose car is a fast car, I think is the saying. So maybe, although Pedersen's setup might be faster over one lap pace, Solholm's chosen to run a setup that might be, although slightly slower, slightly more controllable for himself, as they are now catching the back end of the GT3 pack for the fourth and final time. Marcus Solholm about to make his way past Juan Miguel Sanchez Melinas on the inside towards the braking zone of the hairpin turn 6. And as I'm sure you can all hear, he gets it wrong again. That's 2 times now that he has had that happen to him in the last 2 laps, and now he's 3 wide with Norgard Pedersen. Is he going to be able to make his way past Pedersen? So Solholm really struggling in these low-speed corners to get the car turned in, and that's now handed the lead over to Pedersen with just 7 minutes of racing left to go.
And he's right tucked onto his rear wing, the full effect of the aero watch be coming into play as they both catch Jamie Daniels now. As I think Pedersen was balked there and Solholm was looking to the inside through Sachs curve, but I think Jamie Daniels maybe got a bit spooked by those 2 LMP2 Delaras and probably chose the wise decision of resorting to accepting a bit of an off track in an attempt to keep his car overall back on the road and trying to bring home the GT AM win again.
Yeah, this is an absolute change that we're seeing here with 7 minutes left to go in the race. Marcus Solholm struggling through the low-speed corners, meaning that Pedersen was able to make his way past into the lead of the race. He's gapped it up to half a second now, but coming through the parabolica, a very high-speed section of the track, is Solholm going to be able to close up enough to make a move here on the Danish driver?
As Melinas is now closing up on Jamie Daniels, so his pace, despite these cars being Melinas being a pro car, who we saw early on in the lead of the race, and pulling away from Jamie Daniels, despite splitting the race in 2 in terms of his fuel strategy, reducing his overall weight of his car at the start of the race. Is now caught up on the back of Jamie Daniels. I suspect Daniels won't fight him much because he's He's on for the GT and second GT and win. Melendez looks to the inside, but doesn't look like. Oh, no, as he has made it work for the moment, side by side perhaps. Into Sachs curve as Theo Schroeder in the background will be potentially a little bit frustrated with his performance today, but be wanting to get past these two cars as quickly as possible. But yeah, but Melendez is now sitting in second on the GT3 Pro standings, so yeah, that strategy, although he had 10 more seconds in the pit lane, in his pit box with extra fuel halfway through the race, he has made that pay off with better pace.
Maybe his car's more suited to the heavier fuel loads, meaning that he's able to run faster on the on higher fuel. So I imagine we'll see him making a move here, coming through into Parabolica, this high-speed section of the track where we'll be seeing the slipstream taking full effect in these GT3 cars. We see him closing up on the back end of that BMW. Is he going to be close enough to make a move? He pulls out to the inside, but ducks back in again. He's not close enough this time by to make a move. And this is where we see the understeery front-engined BMW really take its toll through this final sector. We'll see Melendez get right underneath the rear wing of that BM and possibly make a move again, going into the Mobile 1 corner or the suction corner. As they make their way out, we can already see the gap visibly getting smaller to Jamie Daniels and the BMW up ahead. Jamie Daniels opting to run less curb than his competitors with Super on screen there. Interesting to see how John Derek has almost got half a lap lead over Jamie Daniels, the second place car. Certainly superb race by him so far to be able to pull out that gap. Sat at 36 seconds at the moment. Excellent driving from him as Melendez gets as close as he ever has been before to the back end of Jamie Daniels. This is going to be the lap where I imagine we're going to see a move.
Yeah, you can see huge difference in apex speed and confidence between these two guys in the medium and fast corners. Melendez, I'd imagine, is getting a little bit frustrated sat behind Daniels here, but Daniels isn't putting a foot wrong and staying in front as he has the perfect right to do so. So, but yeah, Melendez has all of the pace round the rest of the circuit, but he loses it all down here through Parabolica towards the hairpin. So, where you classically think of getting past somebody, the slipstream effect that comes into play on any car isn't big enough to overcome the huge amount of power that a BMW has.
Very well said. The BMW, although punching a massive gaping hole is in the air, is able to compensate for that with an insane amount of power, as we see he's taking an awful lot of the inside curb as he makes his way out towards Mobile 1 corner. This is as close as ever been before. I've said this several times already, into this section, and you can see him using a lot more curb here than Jamie Daniels does on both entry and exit. Although, even though Jamie Daniels, from this perspective, looked like he had a compromised line, it wasn't enough to slow him down and actually pull away going into the session corner.
As we cut away from this battle for a moment to have a look at our battle for the lead, catching it just the right time. So Norgard Pedersen is now back ahead of, or have they just done the double switch? Sorry, Pedersen is now back ahead of Solholm, as Solholm briefly went off the track at the hairpin. But it looks as if Pedersen's locked up the rears into the left-hander there, and Solholm's got past him again. Fantastic.
Ridiculous
scrap.
driving.
And this is less than a minute as well, so we'll be expecting this to be the penultimate lap. So the next time that these guys cross the start-finish line will be the white flag, and yeah, all on for young and old, as it were.
Absolutely, Solholm was half a second less lap faster than Pedersen, and the gap already has gone out to over a second. As you see Solholm getting a very rock there at the exit. So commentator's curse there is it's now just a 6th gap. Maybe it could be that Pedersen's saving fuel, as he might have underfueled slightly as he runs wide. That might be a slowdown for the Danish driver.
It might be a slowdown, or it could be a tactical off track. So he's managed to close up. as a result of that, and it doesn't look as if he's about to slow down for a slowdown penalty. So as Sarholm's now flashing the car ahead of him, the GT3 car, I think that's Nicolaisen, who could play a huge role in this final lap battle. Oh, as Pedersen goes to the outside, Nicolaisen tries to get out of the way, but run his line, and that's the best thing that he can do, is try and be predictable for these two battling cars. Oh, as Solheim's had a lock up, the new smoke effects of iRacing taking effect there, and Pedersen's back through. I wonder how many lead changes we've had this race. It must be certainly into double digits, if not more.
Yeah, we've seen Marcus trying up the inside here into the Sachsen curve before, but now he's going to the outside. Is he going to be able to have the run on this banked corner? He's going to have the inside now for the final two corners if he can hold it where it is. It looks like he's able to, making contact there with Pedersen in the black and blue car. And Pedersen spun around. No, that's such a shame to see on the second to last corner. Pedersen slightly offline on entry into the last corner, meaning that he got spun around there as he ran off the corner. That is a shame to see, and no one likes to see that happen on the final lap of the race.
No, absolutely not, but some fantastic racing there between those two LMP2 drivers, as we see John Derrick cross the line, take another win for him. So that's 4 out of 4 for him, and a fantastic effort there. Didn't need to do as much fuel saving this time, and still came away with a win on pace. So the man's got everything at this rate.
Does indeed, as we snap back to this battle between Jamie Daniels, the AM driver, in second place at the moment, and Juan Melendez in third place, pro driver behind, with just 2 corners to go. I'll be very surprised if Melendez is able to make a move here. Both cars will score Jamie Daniels will score first place points, and Melendez second as he comes across the line, flashing the lights in appreciation from Melendez and a bit of weaving from Daniels as they cross the finish line. And Jonas Beckman makes his way away round, ready to finish his race, taking third place, which will hold second in the championship for him after this round. Well driven from himself. He comes at the final corner, bit of a weave, flash of the lights.
Yeah, I think
takes the checkered flag.
Knows he's on the broadcast, which is fantastic to see that everybody's watching out there. If we just want to have a quick look back at the final pass for the lead. So the guys are giving each other fantastic space, and it just looks like Pedersen carried a bit too much pace for the rear tyres there, and gave Sarholm a 7-second win at the line as a result of that half spin.
Well, I've just rewatched that back there on my own, and it looks like there's a bit of netcode damage between the netcode contact between the two drivers there, meaning that Pedersen came off there. Unfortunate to see, as always, but
as we will do our best to bring up the race results now. Sorry for this delay. There we are. So Marcus Solheim takes out his second win in the Aquiver eSports Championship for the season. He ran at Spa-Francorchamps in round 1, and he had to work quite hard for this one as well. Unfortunately, a spin befell Finn Norgard Pedersen, who finished 7 seconds behind in his Obsidian Edge Delara P217, and Theo Schroeder in third place for Aquiver Motorsports, 17 seconds back. So I think that will mean that Schroeder keeps his second place in the championship, as he has a win and 2 seconds now. So good to see that. John Derrick takes his fourth win out of 4, as we said, in GT Pro. And Jamie Daniels with another win in being the first time we've had a duplicate winner in GT3 AM. for Omega Racing and his BMW there. Juan Melinas was able to make his strategy work of splitting the race in two for IDEC Club in his Audi R8, with a good pace advantage over Jonas Beckman, and then Silas Nikolaisen for 524 International Racing BMW M4 GT3, bringing up the last of our finishers in his GT3 AM Cup entry. Unfortunately, Gabriel Solomon and in his LMP2 and Martin Jacobson of Bakamaka Racing were unable to finish the race after early accidents. But let's see if we can find some people for some interviews, perhaps.
A good place to start would be at the front end of the field as we pull into the commentary box. Marcus Solheim, organiser of the Aquiver eSports Championship and winner here both at race 1 and round 4 here at Hockenheim. Brilliant race there we saw in the final lap. What happened from your perspective?
Quite a lot of shit, I think. I think it just went left, right, and center, and then I just looked back at the replay now, and it was a net caught apparently from Finn, and yeah, I can see it. And then he said he spun after that. Was, oh my god, that was close. It was, considering we're only basically 3 cars on track, and then 2 ones had a crazy battle. That was really good.
Yeah, it was certainly entertaining, and that's 2 wins for you now in the Aquiver eSports Championship. You had to work very hard at Spa as well. You must be hoping and praying for an easy win in this championship, perhaps.
Actually, I don't really think so. I think it's a lot more fun. It becomes a lot more interesting and a lot more prestigious to win if there's competition and you have to work for it instead of just cruising home. Because if you just cruise home, you're like, yay, and then it quickly goes away again.
Yeah. Very well said. So it looks like this has been your hardest fought race so far, with it coming down to the final lap. Are you expecting this to carry forwards into the later rounds?
Yeah, I really hope so. I think we're really trying to get some more drivers on the grid as well, and I hope it's going to become more interesting when that happens.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. We'll pull you
is...
back in. Oh, sorry, Karen.
I was going to ask, have you... so Hockenheimring is a recent addition to the iRacing service. Have you raced here much, or is this your first time out?
I raced a bit in the GT4 McLaren when he came out here and did some pretty interesting races there as well. But yeah, pretty much first race in LMP2 for me this. So.
Oh, fantastic stuff, and it clearly worked well for you. Well done.
Yeah, it's really nice to drive this car, this track, and just a really nice track in general. So like.
Alrighty then, we'll now bring Finn Norgard Pedersen into the booth. Finn, you had a fantastic battle with Marcus Solheim a whole race. How was it from your perspective?
It was absolutely insane. That's I think that's one of the best races I've had for the lead ever. And the pace was quite good in the beginning, and then I wanted to prevent the undercut from Marcus, but I messed up on the outlap again. So then I was like 1.5 behind, and then the rest of the battle was to the edge.
Yeah, it was a fantastic battle there. We lost count of the amount of lead changes that you have. not necessarily just those across the line, but you had many back and forth throughout each lap as well. No, it was absolutely fantastic to see. So you had a win last time out at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in a second place here. That's a couple of fantastic results since you've joined the championship. You looking forward to...
Yeah, not too shabby.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You looking forward to the next round out at Road America?
Yeah, it's going to be good fun. I have to watch out for the grass, and then,
Yeah, you are correct there. I think when I last raced there, I was also in LMP2, and it's a punishing circuit, not like that at Hockenheim, where you've got lots of tarmac runoff, despite the sausage curves. But it should be a fantastic race there, and we'll see you there and put on another fantastic show for us.
Yeah, I hope so.
Alrighty then, so that was Finn Norgard Pedersen, and we shall bring into the booth John Derrick for the 4th time out of 4. That's it's getting a bit boring from our perspective, I'll be honest, mate. What's going on?
Sorry, I thought I'd provide you some more entertainment for once. Yeah. Yeah. What can I say? Yeah, the start was a bit weird. I don't know what was up, but it turns out Juan was on 60 liters instead of the full tank that we were allowed. And I was like, why is he so quick in the straight line? I was like, it's not, but yeah. Yeah, it was it's a pretty fun track. The McLaren is not the best here. You go into the hairpin and it's like trying to turn a bus around a 90-degree corner. So that was enjoyable. But yeah, felt pretty fun to drive around. Good to try a new track.
Ah, fantastic. And so it is your first time racing here today then?
Yeah, first time. Yeah. I did some testing over the weekend because the GT3 series is here. But yeah, good to get a first practice race in, just run some laps. So yeah.
Very good. And we heard you using the clutch a little bit at the start, but then you decided to get past Juan despite his low fuel. How did that decision come about? Did you decide to be a bit more aggressive? We saw him blinking a little bit, but what came into your head at that point?
Yeah, I mean, the start of the race, I was a bit like, I think I was overly cautious into T1 because I think that corner is just a bit of a nightmare anyway. And I wasn't going to do anything stupid, I think someone was side by side with me into T2 or something, and I was like, I'm not going to, make any stupid moves or anything. So I just hung back for a bit, and then I thought, okay, I've warmed up a little bit. I might as well get on with it if I can. So try and make a gap.
Very good. Isaac, you have any questions for Mr. Derek?
None from myself, other than like you're saying, it's like if you could possibly win the championship if things carry on as they are by the end of next round, possibly round 6. If you do so, will you be dedicating that win to your clutch pedal? Does that seem to be a massive player at the moment in your championship?
Yeah, I'm going to cast it into gold and put it on a pedestal in Trafalgar Square or something. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's always good to do different challenges and stuff. Try and keep the racing exciting and stuff. So yeah, I love a good clutch pedal.
Well, you definitely provided some fun racing for us today. We hopefully will see more of that in future runs to come.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys.
Cheers, then.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you too.
That was John Derrick, our championship leader. As we pull into the commentary box, Jamie Daniels, winner of our GT3 AM race, and also leading the championship at this point. Jamie, how did your race go?
It was pretty good. Solid start. Overtook John in turn 2. And then kind of fell off at the end. Yeah, he is ultimately a faster driver, so... But yeah, overall, pretty good race. Not a favorite track of mine, but yeah.
Very good. So yeah, you now break the deadlock with Silas Nikolaisen on 61 points. Both of you are coming into the championship. Sorry, coming into the round. So yeah, that win will put you 5 points ahead of him. So very well done with that. Have you raced here much recently? So it's obviously a recent addition to the iRacing service. But yeah, you say it's not one of your most favoured tracks, but yeah, have you managed to put a lot of laps in, or?
I mean, I did in week 13 last season when the track came out. I did some races, like the Tint Up Tussle and stuff, that kind of stuff, and I did some practice laps this weekend. So yeah, was pretty prepared.
Very good. And you looking forward to Road America next time out?
Should be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we're noticing today from the commentary box as well. Your BMW seemed especially understeer with the front engine through that final sector. How do you feel like you're weighing up against the mid-engine cars?
I mean, so that's first things first. I wouldn't say I hate it, but I don't like the stadium section. But yeah, I haven't driven any mid-engine cars here, so I couldn't compare them. But yeah, I had a lot of understeer there.
Yeah, and it looked like you had a bit of a battle or a bit of a task keeping Juan Melanos behind you in those closing stages. You were able to use the power of your BMW down the big long straight, but then he'd certainly close up through that stadium section.
Yeah, I was able to like pull out on at least maintain a gap on the straights. So I managed to keep him behind, but yeah, it was a good race.
No, very well done indeed. Right then, I think that is what we have. So yeah, well done for a second win, our first person to get 2 wins in the GT3 AM Championship there, Jamie Daniels.
Thank you.
So Isaac,
That were
another fantastic race in the Aquiver eSports Championship. Yeah, battles throughout the field, and certainly LMP2 providing us with plenty of thrills at the front as well.
Yeah, like you were saying, you don't need 2 cars for a battle, and that's what we had today. We wasn't a load of competitors on track, but there was some very entertaining battles, both in LMP2 on the final lap and in GT3 throughout the whole race. So yeah, it's been great to see the drivers driving so quick on this new addition to iRacing.
Indeed it is, as we will then look at the calendar for the remainder of the season. So we have knocked off the first 4 rounds there, and next week, as we said, we'll go to Road America. And then, yeah, a very American centric race series this, but nonetheless, America do have some fantastic race circuits, and we heard Pedersen will be looking forward to Road America, but also potentially fearing a little bit of the consequences that come with the grass that is right next to the white line there. And then we'll move on to the bumps, and yeah, hashtag respect the bumps at Sebring on the 26th of April, a week off at the first week of May, where then we'll head to the fast-flowing Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and then back over the pond to Road Atlanta and Daytona International Speedway to finish off the season. Which circuit do you reckon you're looking forward to the most, Isaac?
Being a Silverstone fanboy and my local track, it's definitely the one which I'm most looking forward to. I think it provides brilliant racing no matter what class you're in, and I reckon it's going to be no difference here. Like Marcus said, he's trying to get more competitors into the championship, so if we can see a bigger grid at Silverstone, which I undoubtedly think we will, the track as well will provide some awesome racing, and I think that's one to definitely be there for.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely, there, Isaac. So yeah, if you do want to get involved with the Aquiver eSports Championship, there are 5 rounds left, and entry is free. Just don't join the Discord in the link of the description below, and you can find yourself on the grid, and you find yourself on TV, be able to show all your mates, even your mum, say hello, and. Next up on ISRC TV, on this Thursday evening, we will have the ISR PC. That is the Porsche Challenge organised by ISRC. That will be 2 races, 2 20-minute races at Donington Park National Circuit. Should be some fantastic racing there. There's a link to the ISRC Discord if you'd like to join in on that. But any more words from yourself, Isaac, this evening?
Nothing else to say other than make sure you guys are here for the next round of the championship at Hockenheim and join the Discord and get signed up.
Indeed. Thank you very much from all of us at ISRC TV and Aquiver Motorsports for putting on the Aquiver eSports Championship. We shall see you next time at Road America next Monday night. Enjoy.
Thank you.